Hi, I'm MJ Hicks here at Leopold's, where we pair our bottles with books. So our featured wine of the month is really quite special. It's the only bubbly that's made in Qvevri. So Qvevri are traditional ancient clay pots that are buried in the ground in Georgia, the country, not the US state. After the wine is produced, they bottle it for 2 years sur lie. That means on top of the yeast. So that contributes additional texture and flavor notes. In addition to the Mitzvani grape, which is indigenous to Georgia, it offers bright, pitted fruit notes. So it's really a lovely wine that you can pair with a lot of different foods. When you have a meal that's full of flavor and offers contrasting and complex notes, bubbly is really a great way to go. The mousse and the acidic notes can cleanse your palate, leaving you ready for your next bite. We think you're really going to enjoy this wine. Cheers.
Hello and welcome to Cooking with the Cap Times. I'm Beck with the Cap Times, and a few things are different tonight. One thing, it's a Monday instead of our usual Thursday. And also, instead of just one guest chef today, we have two chefs. So we have Ben Hunter and Kyle Kiepert from 7 Acre Dairy Company, the kitchen there. They're here and I'll introduce them in a moment. But first of all, I do want to thank our sponsors before we get kicked off. So first, our official kitchen sponsor is Kesnick's. That's where we are here in their beautiful innovation center. They are so kind to host us here every month. This is the perfect space for it. And this is a place you can shop like a chef. Come in here to get all of your kitchen needs fulfilled. Whatever you can think of that your kitchen might need, you can find it here. We would also like to thank our official wine pairing sponsor. You just saw a video from them with the wine that MJ picked out to pair with the dishes that we're making tonight. If you haven't been to Leopold's, I just go there. It's my favorite. You can get everything there. Coffee, cocktails, books, what more could you ask for? And the lucky guests here will get to try that, not only the dishes tonight, but that wine in person. So if you'd like to know how to be one of those special people who get to watch in person, you should become a Cap Times member. You can do that at membership.captimes.com. Give any amount to support local journalism, and you're a member, you will get invites to events like this and other events, and you'll be supporting local news in Madison. I think that's it. So now I'm going to pass it off to our food editor, Lindsay Christians.
Thank you. Thank you, Beck. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, everybody at home. So I am so glad to be here tonight with Ben and Kyle. First of all, if you could just introduce a little bit what 7 Acre Dairy Company is, because it's still pretty new. It's out in Paoli, and maybe y'all haven't been out there yet, but you should. So tell us a little bit about 7 Acre.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
It's a tough thing because Ben and I could both answer this question. But 7 Acre Dairy Company is a combination hotel, coffee shop, ice cream shop, really just a place where we're celebrating kind of the historic farming area that is the Sugar River Valley, which is where 7 Acre Dairy Company is located. And we're really just trying to celebrate the food traditions of that area and the people of that area in as many different ways as we can. So
yeah, it's this old cheese factory that like back in the 1880s was like established, and then over many different iterations it like founded and solidified the community of Paoli and allowed for like amazing jobs and dairies to exist, and they allowed for them to create cheese and eventually butter and like milk for the fresh markets in Chicago. And then, you know, we've been given this opportunity to work in that same space, to connect with the same farmers, and to like be a part of the community and be a part of what might be, you know, one of these ways to reinvigorate these smaller towns and smaller communities and get them their own financial like centers going again, and you know, provide good jobs locally. I mean, that's one thing that like they've done there is there's a lot of good jobs, even just working at the dairy. That's kind of fun. You don't even have to milk cows.
So the kitchen itself, one thing that's really cool about the restaurant where you both are, you know, the chefs there, is that you're taking inspiration, I think, from a lot of like old Midwestern cookbooks, which I really love. So the last time I was there, I was like paging through some of the old cookbooks you have back there. You've had like funeral potatoes on the menu. We've got grape jelly meatballs tonight. So can you tell us a little bit about the inspiration when you're building that menu and where you're finding that?
Yeah, so I mean, kind of one of the visions of the restaurant from the beginning was to take inspiration from the area. And
Yeah.
you know, it's easy to say like, oh, we're taking inspiration from the area, but really the more authentic way to do that is to seek out these old food traditions and food ways of the area. And the best way that we found to do that is to page through all of these old, you know, church cookbooks, regional cookbooks, and like clubs and things that were written by the people of the community and really reflective of the actual people that live there. And I think that both Ben and I kind of feel that, you know, a lot of those traditions are lost, especially in so much cooking these days. And that's great to see people doing their own thing and everything, but we wanted to just take a step back and really do something that was properly representing the area that we were trying to you know, celebrate.
Yeah, there's butter and everything, which I love. There's a lot of cheese.
There's a lot of butter, a lot of cheese,
It's
a
so
lot of
funny.
dairy in general.
When the vegan comes in, like we do come up with options though. Like we definitely try and make sure to cover that. So
There are vegan options. So.
Well, I think on Saturday night, Kyle stopped in the middle of service and made one for someone, but we were happy to do it. I went down to the greenhouse earlier today and I had this little cauliflower head that we were growing, and like it just was perfect. We didn't know that they were in until service, and we had enough people that we could just move him over to just take care of that. So that's really
cool.
Sweet. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's a lot really fun for us to do things like that, and like, A, cook for somebody that otherwise might feel like we don't have options for them, and B, to kind of, you know, get a little creative on the fly, which is one of the most fun things about cooking.
I mean, he tries.
sure.
I do my best every once in a while. It works.
All right. Well, Ben, can you tell us really quick what you're doing here with the spinach roots? Because one of our recipes tonight is with the spinach roots, which I don't think most of us have worked with before.
So these are like at the very end of the season. The spinach root is a really cool.
Hold that up a little bit.
The spinach root is a really cool, fun ingredient that not a lot of people have worked with. I think that you know, I was pushed by a bunch of years by farmer Bill Warner to like figure out how to work with these and do stuff, because he just hated the fact that he was tilling them into the ground every year instead of selling it. So he was able to sell his crop twice now, which, if you know Bill, actually I think he's probably selling it 4 or 5 times. What he says is the best and the most expensive. That's what he wants to provide. And I think that's kind of cool. But this was something that like we can't really afford to put his spinach on the menu, but we could afford to work with him on this. And one of the things we're trying to do is not to ask farmers to do something different and new for us, but to find out what they're doing and how we can find a little area where there's maybe something that's not getting used all the same way. We bought chickweed from him that was growing as a weed underneath the spinach.
Oh, yeah.
We used it as tons of like garnish and stuff like that. It was
Almost
really,
like a salad.
yeah, it's super tasty. Anyway, so the spinach root, this is at the end of the harvest season. You know, he harvests these leaves every week for the market and other customers. And this stem and stalk has just sort of gotten bigger and bigger. But just how the spinach sweetens every time it freezes at night, so do the roots and so do the stems. And so this is a little bit too big to fit into your fryer or your, or even your rondo if you would have brought one of those to fry. So I'm gonna cut them down a little bit. I'm gonna cut the roots off and then cut the stems down a little bit, and we'll fry the roots together first. The roots, and then we'll add the stems to that same pot probably. And it's a really, really tasty dish that is interesting because like, it's like I was saying before, we started rolling, like it's like a parsnip but dirtier, but like the cleanness of the earth is there. Like, so it's those two things that I think are like really not something that people would usually use and do. And yeah.
All right. Cool. They're much bigger than I saw when we came down. So they've got a lot bigger. It's late in the season. But yeah, let's get rolling.
Yep, sounds great.
Before we get rolling, I did want to quickly, I forgot to mention this before, but if you have questions while you're watching at home, please drop those in the chat and we'll convey those to the chefs and get those answered. People watching here in person can also ask questions. And to really get those questions coming, we do have something that you can win. You can win a bottle of this beautiful wine that was picked out by MJ from Leopold's. The person who asks the best question will decide at the end of the night, and then you can go to Leopold's and get a bottle of this wine. And we do have one question. So Colette was asking, as we were talking about the history of 7 Acre. She wanted to know if you sell these old cookbooks.
No, we don't. They're really cool, and you can get them really cheaply at places like St. Vinny's or other small thrift stores. You find the region. If you wanted to find a place that sells a old cookbook, Hosley's in New Glarus has a really cool culinary or cookbook that's based off of that area and that place, and it goes into a lot of that Swiss German heritage we're talking about. Hosley's is an awesome place that I've worked with for years, and they process veal, which is really rare nowadays. And since we work with a dairy farm across the river and up the hill, one of the things that happens is there's no, the baby boy cows, there's no space for them on the farm. And so we are able to keep them on the farm, give them milk from the herd, and then we either have an on-farm harvest or we take them to Hosley's, and then we can use that product on our menu in a way that is really not really available otherwise. Most veal is taken to 24 weeks under confinement with fed milk replacer, and that's not really what was done. That wasn't really how they used to do it. They used to slaughter veal in the summertime because it was too hot to kill the big ones, and they were having these little ones, and they would be part of how they would get food into their diet and protein. And so that's what we're working with tonight. Is we have veal from 7 Acres that we're making grape jelly meatballs with.
Nice. All right.
Yeah. Are we ready to start? Did I answer the question?
Yes.
Yes, we do have one more.
Great.
Nancy wants to know if there's a certain spinach hybrid that home gardeners could plant to be used in this recipe.
I have been having all sorts of people dropping into my messages on Instagram and stuff like that. For further reference, I'll just call it my DMs. So people show me these pictures of the spinach they've grown and they're harvesting, and it seems like it's just anything you have is great. I would recommend, you wait until it's winter a little bit and your spinach is frozen somewhat, because I do think you want that mass and that production and that sweetness to happen. But I'm no farmer.
All right.
Yes, so do we want to start with the meatballs, and
Yeah.
then we can kind of go back to the roots?
Do we have the recipe in front of us?
No, I think I got it.
All right, yeah. So we decided to get a little bit ahead on the meatballs and make it so we could have those ready to just sort of fry up. Any real meatball recipe will work. What we've done is we've found one that's from one of these old cookbooks that we shared that recipe via the internet.
I had a question about the breadcrumbs. So the breadcrumbs in this recipe for the meatballs, I have bread. You can buy breadcrumbs, right? But I can also take old bread and go zh in my Cuisinart,
Yep.
and they both work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the thing about that is there's moisture content that's in fresh bread, and so you'll want to adapt your recipe a little bit to that, or
Make sure it's dry.
yeah,
Or stale.
You can dry it or stale. Yeah, that'll
Yeah.
work.
All right.
Really what it's doing is it's acting as a binder.
Okay.
And also to add some. And so the bread's going to get wet from the meat anyway. And so I would say just try it. And the worst thing that will happen is maybe they'll be a little bit looser than you were hoping. But
Got it.
there's no real reason it wouldn't work.
I saw
But
that
I
you
think
rolled them in a little flour too.
Yeah, that's a rice flour. It sort of helps give it a crust when it's in the
Okay.
fryer. There's a bunch of different ways. So when you make the recipe, we're making these small little guys. The idea with this recipe comes from all of these. You find them in all of these different cookbooks. They're cocktail meatballs or grape jelly chili meatballs, and they're so good. There's this sticky dark sauce.
So classic, you guys.
Yeah.
We love it.
From Ohio, like
And
me.
Yeah. We used them. We made them a bunch during our opening couple of weeks, and it's something we're bringing back on the menu this next week in the kitchen, and it's just so comforting. It's
Yeah.
it's
Nostalgia
rich,
flavor, for sure.
creamy, and it's nostalgia. And the thing is, we did have a food culture. We do have it, but it was really, really rich back then. And some of them was just as simple as stuff as this. And what we do to make this recipe super good is we add equal parts of beef stock or reduced beef stock.
Yeah, really, really sticky.
Yeah, I want you to talk a little bit about. I'll let you get started on putting this together
so
though.
These are what the meatballs look like. If you think you can roll some ground meat into a ball, you've got it. And then you just roll it in a little bit of rice flour, and you're there.
Any flour will work, really.
Yeah.
But
Do you need to
We
do
like
that
rice
if you're roasting them as well, or just
if you're
if
gonna
you're
pan fry them or roast them, I mean, I don't know if I would like. You can also use a little bit of oil if you're gonna go in
Okay.
the oven, because that will give it some surface temperature increase. It'll
Yeah.
pop that a little bit, give some browning.
Cool.
I think, yeah. Should I drop this in the fryer while you start working on that?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. I like to drop them in around 325, 350.
Yeah.
We go
You're
for
just
a-
really looking to get that nice crust on the outside. So if you see them bubbling, then it's working, and that's great.
the oil. Okay.
But to make the sauce, it's super easy. Like you saw, we're using Smucker's and Heinz,
Okay.
which is
Chef
my
material.
favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you could use something that you made at home, and
There's
it is important.
Hearty meatballs recipe on the back of the.
Yeah, see?
Sorry.
And there it is.
Yes, I love it.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
But yeah, and we just use these two products. We feel that it really provides that nostalgic taste. So we're just gonna take one whole jar. We do like 1 to 1 of grape jelly. This is just a standard jar. I think it's 32 ounces. Yep, 32 ounces, and then 1 12-ounce jar of the chili sauce. And that's important to note that you want the chili sauce and not ketchup.
Got
You
it.
can do it
Okay.
with ketchup, but it doesn't really have the same.
It'll just be sweet.
Yeah, it'll be
I would
a
imagine.
little bit too
Yeah.
sweet, and they are sweet still because of all this jelly. But yeah, this adds a little bit more depth. So you just take your jelly and your grape or your chili sauce, shake it all in.
This comes right out there. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, not so bad. And then we can just get rid of these.
It's because we store it at 80 degrees, and then it'll come right out of the bottle if you keep it at
Yeah.
80 degrees.
And then you just simmer this, and the jelly is going to melt really quickly, and I'll bring it over once it starts to liquefy a little bit. But
Got it. Okay.
just kind of stir it around and let it go for a little bit. And then we already have some beef stock that we've reduced a little bit.
So 2 quarts down to 1 cup is I think is what we talked about in the
Yeah,
recipe.
and that's to make like a demi, and really you do it more so on how it feels, and I'll kind of show what that looks
yeah.
like later. But when it's cold, it just looks like this brown sort of jello stuff, and that's because of all the natural gelatin that's in these bones. And so if you've ever heard of people drinking like bone broth or,
Yes,
or
yeah.
anything, that's what the advantage of that is.
Sure, okay.
is You're bringing in all of that really rich gelatin and everything that's in the bones. So
It just takes a long time
Yeah.
on my stove.
It'll float when
so
it's done.
like 2 hours, 3 hours sometimes. It's a really long time. But it's worth it.
You know who makes a really good bone broth? Hutong.
Ooh.
Every other Tuesday on his day off, he's making that for 16 hours, like from scratch. He had like it's so good. I had that last night. Hutong is like maybe my favorite restaurant. Maybe.
It's new. It's where the Greek place used to be on Wilson, I
Yeah.
want to say.
In fact, the mother of my children, she was pregnant with all 3 of our children working at Cleveland's as a server there
Nice.
like 20 years ago. And now like, they're there.
There's a beautiful little patio in the back of that place. Yes, question.
Simple, really dumb question, I suppose. Are all meats and spinach plants as long as these that you have here?
So
Well,
the question is are all roots on spinach plants as long as the ones that Ben is chopping right now?
Nope. These are well developed. He started them really early in the season, and like I think he's chosen seed varieties over time to really like lock in on what like will produce like really well for him in his area. So he's like tuned it in. But in general, you know, I've seen people with like roots that come out looking like this, and some are a little bigger. We were getting some really big ones. This part is the part that is dependent on like the fact that this seems to be going to seed, meaning that it's switching production from like vegetative growth into seed or flower production, which is probably light triggered seasonally by that, or I don't know. I'm not a farmer.
I did include the note that it's like 30 minutes to an hour of like soaking in cold water to get all the yuck out of the bottom.
Yeah, so there's these little like black spots which are where the roots sort of start, and like that's dirt in there. And I'm sitting here scraping at it until I just see pink or white. But, you know, if we're really busy, we just throw them right in the fryer.
Yeah.
So yeah, those meatballs are about ready to float, and that's a good time you want to know they're done. You're not really looking for anything other than like a nice golden brown on the outside, because what we're going to do with them is we're going to put them to this sauce and let them sort of like build up in there and finish off. So, and then we're going to take them to church or to the bar and put them in the crock pot, and like, they'll sit there for anywhere up to 8 hours. But
Yeah.
As long as they're above 140.
as long as they're above 140. Or I heard that in Madison and Dane County, the health department is okay with 120. That's what I've heard. 'Cause when they combined, they changed the numbers for this area.
Don't listen
I
to
mean,
that.
I speak under correction.
Yeah. We're gonna get sued. People mad about their meatballs. But yeah, no, I think the last time I had those saucy meatballs, I was at like a theater cast party, and it's very appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Church basement
It's
food.
so good. So here, I can kind of bring this over. You can see that all of that jelly is sort of, I don't know if you can catch that in
Does
the
look
camera
liquefied.
right there, but you can see that all of that jelly is melted and combined and everything. And what we're gonna do, we can let this simmer and get nice and thick first, but another thing that you can do and what we're gonna do today is I'm just gonna take some of that sauce and put it in the saute pan, and that makes it a little bit easier and a little bit faster, and just kind of let them crank on that pan until it starts to stick to the outside of those meatballs. And,
Got it. Okay. And
Yeah.
at that point is when you would take them and put them in your crock pot.
And,
Okay.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Keep them warm for your next party.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, so I'm gonna get this pan going.
I have a quick
Very
question.
handy dandy.
Go ahead.
Did you add any spices to your meat before you roll them up?
Yeah.
Yes.
Repeat the question?
Yeah, so the question is like, are there spices in the meatballs? And this is in the recipe, which Beck can actually send to you. She's got your email. But in the recipe, there's a bunch of different spices that go into the meatballs that you guys make. So I don't know if you remember them all, but
Yeah. You know, it's pretty open. You're gonna be competing against grape jelly and chili sauce with tomatoes. So the seasoning, I think white pepper.
yep.
I think there was some onion in there. You know, coriander would hit against those spices. That's seasoning pretty well, but we made it pretty simple. I think. I think it was
Yeah.
like some fresh herbs and white pepper, salt, and pepper.
I think there was thyme in there.
Yep.
Like, you know, obviously salt, pepper, thyme, like dried thyme. But yeah, pretty classic.
Yeah. Yeah. Any like really traditional meatball recipe would work. You know.
When I was looking at methods, I found a lot of them that use frozen meatballs, which
Yeah.
is an option.
That's what they do at Jenna's, I think.
Yeah.
All right, so right here I have that sauce. I have our meatballs that we fried, and I'm just gonna add them to the pan and kind
Ooh, those have lovely browning on the outside. That's
Yeah,
the rice
and
flour
what
that's doing
rice
that.
flour does.
Yes.
It gives it
Show people
nice-
that so they can
here,
kinda
I'll bring
see.
this over here.
This is as brown as they look.
Yeah, and so it gets that nice little crust on the outside. You
They're
can
done
see it,
inside,
they're nice
too.
and done on the inside. You gotta taste your food.
Ain't too bad.
And another thing that's gonna do. Oh, pardon me. It's hot.
It's a little spicy. Sorry, cut that.
Another thing that does though is it allows something to grab, or the sauce to grab onto.
Sure.
So
Flour.
within the sauce, it's gonna really like soak into that and provide that sort of rich
Got it.
grape jelly chili sauce taste.
We have another important question from Colette who wants to know what's on Ben's T-shirt.
Oh, it's so cool, right? It's a mole. It was just a unit of measurement, and it's stuck in place. I found a shirt like this at Good Style Shop, which is a nice little clothing store on East Wash, or East Johnson. And it's really, that one, and I was looking online on the internet, and I looked at this person's name and that number and mole, and I found another one on eBay, and I bought this one there. And I have two of this shirts, and I don't think very many people have two of this shirt. It was screen printed in '91. But I just think it's so funny, and it gives me such a fun opportunity to explain to people a joke, which everybody loves.
Just like they like being taught how to play board games. You know, we love being explained jokes, being taught board games.
I like cheating at board games.
But that's fun.
I mean, nobody really wants to finish once they realize you're cheating.
So the demi here that you have, are you starting with a beef stock that you make from the bones and then you're just reducing it down? How long does it take you guys? And do you use like bigger pans?
We use a really big like rondeau. That's what this big sort of wide thing.
Big,
that Ben is
wide
frying and wide and sort of shallow compared to like
Sure,
a
sure.
stock pot. And so It goes relatively quick, but we do like a 22 quart batch of beef stock, and it takes a few hours. But you know, if you start with beef stock and you put it in a saute pan, you're not using that much, and you're only using what you need, then it goes pretty quick.
Okay.
It really depends though on your stove and your pan, and like I said, we're gonna do some for the steak, but what you're looking for is to kind of coat the back of a spoon.
Sure.
A little bit, and really kind of you taste it and you see how it feels in your mouth. You want it to be rich and kind of unctuous.
Right. So for the chili sauce that you did, you had the grape jelly and the chili sauce in there, and you let it kind of melt down, and then you added the demi to it.
Yep, I added about a pint of demi to that
Okay.
whole amount.
That's
So,
more than in your recipe because we're making more for people here,
yeah,
I think.
we have a bunch of people.
Yeah. But adding that demi is just gonna give it like richness, beefiness.
Yeah, it really just kind of accentuates some of those
Sure.
flavors. that are
Okay.
typical.
These plates are amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
Again, like with the whole 7 acre thing, like we've like bought lots of old antique sort of like farmhouse sort of place. We really feel like the type of food we're doing is farmstead cuisine. Like what is the kind of food that people would come together around a table and share together, especially for like, special events and holidays. Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons why we work with so much beef stock and bone stock is because we've committed to using whole animals from the dairy farm across the river and up the hill. We bring in 3-4 animals every month or two, and Anna, who's our head butcher, she used to be at Meat People, and we took her.
I love when she was Meat People.
She's great. She's amazing, and
Yeah.
Meat People's an amazing shop, and we are super fortunate that this is where Anna wants to be now. She's really improved our overall team because I was the one doing the butchery work before. She's a lot better. But the thing that's been really cool is like, to use the extra couple 100 pounds of bones we get off of this every month instead of just like having to buy those in for the same price it would cost to have bought that whole cow we already did.
Yes,
It's
right.
crazy that like some of it takes a lot more work on our part, and
Yes.
there's all these little steps that happen. And, like one of the biggest things is like we give these cows a retirement for 4 to 5 months after they've spent their whole life on the farm providing milk and working. We don't just send them off to a cull facility like it's typically done. We keep them there, and we let this really natural process happen where they transition from a milking, lactating animal to a grazing animal, and that live age that's been developed over 9 to 10 years is really, really restored and present. So, all right.
Nice.
And that's where we get this meat and this beef stock from, and it really improves the overall thing. And that's, I think, what farmstead cuisine is about, is using it all and finding out how to do that. I think I'm about ready to drop into my oil with these. Do you want to plate that while I do that?
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right, these spinach roots, the oil's around 350. All right, this is gonna be a little annoying and weird because they're wet. They've been soaking in water. We're in a rondo, so we're gonna see how it goes. So we're starting with the roots because, like I was saying earlier, these are probably too big to fit in their hole. Also, the leaves have a ton of water on them too, so all of that water together at once would have been a little bit much. And the stems and the bases tend to like cook a little bit longer than the top. So one of the things that this, like, when we just decided to do it this way is like the top comes out like oven kale or crispy kale, and the roots are so creamy and textured, and like they have these long, like there's like 3 different parts to it. There's like the roots to the main tap root, and then there's all those little feeder roots, and then the skin. It's just pretty like fun how all of them have a different flavor and texture and part of it.
Right back here.
Yep.
All right, and so you can see how that sauce like really
yeah.
thickened up after reducing it. You can see it's got that sort of syrupy stick to the pan, and that's what you want because that's what's going to allow it to stick.
Like molasses.
Yep, exactly. So I'm just going to take a little bit more of this sauce, drizzle it over here.
Is demi something that you can purchase?
Sure can. There's a company up in Green Bay that makes it.
Yep.
That's what I like to hear. I'm just thinking about simmering beef stock for 3 hours or whatever, and then having my jelly that's already been made for me by Smuckers, and
When I worked at Light Years, Michael would always have like this shelf of pressure canned stock that he would use, and on the top there would be ×2, ×4, ×8, which how many times we reduced it.
Yeah.
And so just having that off of the shelf to like just work with.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Yeah, and you know, with the Instapot, you can safely home pressure like meat at home. Even the USDA says it's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, FDA maybe, one of them departments.
Agricultural something. All right, these are like lovely and saucy and browned and
Yeah, they're so good.
yeah. Do you temp them out before you put the sauce on them or no?
We don't need to
Okay.
because it's been simmering in that boiling sauce for several minutes. And when I broke that one out, open in front of the camera, and then fed it to Kyle,
It burned my mouth.
It burned his mouth. So,
Yeah, that's a good rule of thumb. If it burns your mouth, it's.
do you finish with anything else?
What was it?
You want to finish with anything else?
Yeah, let's do a little bit of crunchy salt.
We're gonna do some marigold flowers.
Yeah, maybe 2-3 marigold flowers.
One of the things that we have the pleasure of working with over at the 7 Acre is we have the Night Farm down the road, which is like a series of greenhouses and aquaponics. And you know, we're growing marigold flowers, nasturtiums, all these little things that would be so expensive to bring in every week or whatnot. But it's just a resource that we have and we're growing, and you know, we use our lettuce and all that kind of stuff.
So pretty. I'm devoting part of my garden
Those with a
to
little bit
growing.
of crushed black pepper,
All right.
and those are good to go.
Yeah.
So these are designed to share, and that's kind of one of the things that Ben and I really like to do is kind of force people to sort of interact with the people that they're dining with, because I think for both of us,
It's the whole point of the food. Well, I mean, the experience a lot of times, but like the connection that two people can make over a plate of food is way more powerful than the food that can be on the plate.
Yeah.
Like, and sometimes with that cooking with food, you can actually create the environment for that to grow. I tell people all the time when I come back from the greenhouse, is like, I didn't grow this, but I did create the conditions for it to grow.
I like that. All right. All right.
go ahead and save that parsley for a
All
little
right.
bit.
Beautiful. We love the meatball cheers. Oh, speaking of little cheers gestures, what is this thing?
Oh, it's a peace and a goodbye.
A peace and a goodbye.
Like sometimes, like
Peace and
goodbye.
hello and goodbye.
Should we show everybody
yeah.
what we're talking about?
sometimes after like a brutal night, I have to go home because I don't live at 7 Acre, even though it seems like that. Kyle and I will be like, peace, and then I'll leave.
Hello and goodbye.
You know, some people have these elaborate secret handshakes, and ours is just
Hello
nice
and goodbye.
understated and simple.
We like it. Lauren? We have more forks. Oh,
Sure.
you guys got some? Okay.
We've got forks.
Okay.
We stole plates.
Oh, you stole plates. That's
Oh
still
yeah, great, excellent. Yeah, would you like some plates? Oh, these are fun. These plates. Also, you know, the whole idea of where we're getting this stuff. This is depression glassware. I was really fortunate. I met this person on Instagram who, I meet a lot of people on Instagram, to be honest. But her name or account is called Mad Glass Finds, and she's on Instagram, and she goes around and buys stuff. But these have uranium in them, so they glow under black light. Not very much uranium. You're fine, I promise. But yeah, it's called. Anyways, I bought a bunch of stuff from her for 7 Acre, and it's
That's
been
really
great.
fun.
All right, I think those are about ready, Kyle. They're not super brown, but
No, they look great. And that's one of the fun things about using a product like Spinach Roots is, you know, we don't really know what the rules are. We don't really know if there are any rules because we're learning as we use them too. And like Ben was saying, usually they don't look the way that they did this time, but I'm sure they're still going to be absolutely delicious.
yeah, this thing is like, and that's the thing that is pretty cool to learn about and to think about is like to use the bounty, to use where you're at, and like it would just be a shame to throw this away. Like, and you know, we try and do so many things at 7 Acre like that, where we buy turnips and we try to use the tops, and same with the radishes, and it sure is hard to keep ahead of, like especially in the full bounty of the season. But it is sure the way to play it, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I know, actually, I'm thinking about it because it's legal to harvest them without a license and you can sell them at restaurants. So I've talked to the neighbor farmers about it. They have kids who would raise rabbits and they have in the past. and then we can go have a harvest party.
Rabbits are the smartest thing that's the best protein we should be eating anyway, I think.
You guys want to hear a crazy story about me harvesting some rabbits in,
Yes.
in Vegas?
Oh my God.
I went out to Vegas. Well, I was going out to LA to do a dinner called Lost Giving. Sometimes family is a feeling. I'm gonna go with some hot greens.
Lost giving?
Lost Giving. I did it. I think a Thanksgiving pop up in Los Angeles.
Nice. Oh yeah, okay.
Don't get hurt there.
There we go.
There's a bit more in there. Tossing it.
Okay.
And like I've used a bunch of websites over the past to find produce at different farmers. And I had rabbit on the menu, and I was using these organic websites, and I could not find one. And I finally went into Craigslist, and I'm looking in Craigslist, and we're getting pretty close to LA, and I'm looking in that Las Vegas area, and there's this gentleman that raises rabbits in the middle of the city, and he was willing to sell me a bunch of rabbits, but they were live, and so I went to his backyard. He also had 3 emu, 2 blocks from the Strip. It's this wild little menagerie. He'd been working as a pool bartender all day, so he was a little tipsy. And then there's this, if you find yourself perchance easily, this next little part talks about the death of an animal. So you hold, one of the ways you harvest rabbits is you have them on the ground, you put a stick over the back of their neck, and then you stand up and their heads are removed. And they bleed out, and then you gut them and you skin them and you ice them and cool them. And there's other ways to do it, but that was the way that he knew how to do it, and I watched him do this. I took over right away because, anyways, I don't know if I should have told this story, but I packed him in a cooler with ice. I got a valet to a hotel on the Strip, and I stayed there until the next morning. I drove to LA, and I did this crazy cool pop-up for it.
And it worked?
Yeah, it worked great. I had amazing rabbit and urchin for another dish. It was a fun menu. Because, sometimes family is a feeling.
I like it.
I bet you've never had a guest like this before.
We've served meat before, but that's, I don't know, I've heard some stories like that from the hunters.
I also drove out there with 5 giant tables that I built. They were 2 by 5 foot, 2 inches thick, and I built them from ash trees that the city had cut down. We used those to serve the food on.
You gotta bring your own table.
Well, I was proving a point, I think, looking back on it now.
Yeah. No.
All
So one of the questions about the steak was the gray salt. So can you talk a little bit about what gray salt is and why you use it?
Yeah, I'm gonna let Ben field the question on the gray salt because the
Do you not
crunchy
agree?
salt I do. It's great.
Okay.
It's great and it's gray.
Okay.
But the salt that I most frequently use comes from England. It's called Malden, and I think that's pretty common amongst.
I have Malden at
professional
home.
cooks.
Yes.
Yep, and
I have
it's
kosher at home as
available.
well.
I love Malden. I fell in love with Selgri or Celtic gray salt
Okay.
when I was working at Crest Spring Bakery. Jeff Ford, he uses that in all of his breads, and it's wet, and you add it right at the end of the dough, with mixing the process where well, not at the end, but after the auto lease and after you've developed it, and it's large and crunchy, and then as it sort of sits in the dough, it dissolves and it creates these larger pockets that maybe the CO2 that is being generated sort of fills and sits in. And I also love just eating it. Does it taste good?
It's great.
And I actually use it a lot for cooking with, in water and sauces and stuff like that, because it dramatically tastes better than other salts. And might as well.
And then, so just, I know, Ben, I want to show off my salt
Yeah,
too.
you can.
I don't want to be left out of this. But you'll see that the Malden, whereas the gray salt is more of a round little ball. I don't know if you can see that the gray salt right here, round little ball. And then the Malden is these big pyramids, which I think is
They're
kinda
flat,
cool.
they're really hollow, easy,
And they stick to things really nice. And so it's really just kind of what do you have? It's to add a little bit of texture, and you don't need it, but we use it.
I love
so.
the crunch of the Malden, but I don't have gray salt at home, and now I kind of want to play with that too.
Yeah.
Yes, and salt.
They have a couple of good varieties at the co-op. The
Yeah.
blue label one's pretty good.
Bellini? No. there's a different one.
Yeah, that Balin.
Belen.
Yeah, I
yeah.
can't pronounce things.
Anyway, so
All right.
you've been salting and peppering your steaks.
Yep.
Amazing.
Yep, we're gonna get them going because they are gonna take a little bit. These are some big steaks, and so
They've got bone in.
yeah, these are bone in. So these are bone in New York strips, and then these are also New York strips. They were these same steaks, but we just took a few off the bone.
Got it. Okay.
Just to kind of show the difference. You can see that would sit like that, and then this is one of the tails. Not
Is
meant
this
to wash
something
my
where
hands,
you would
I've
like?
been so careful.
Sorry.
No, that's
Um,
okay. Here, I can answer your question.
The kind of thing where you would like put them in the. I feel like I've seen like putting steak in the fridge and kind of letting it dry out, sort of like you would do with chicken sometimes, where you put it in the fridge and you let it dry out so it browns a little bit better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. You can put it in the fridge like that, and we really like to have our steaks a little bit tempered, a little bit above fridge temp before.
So
we
you
cook
bring them out sooner. Okay.
Bring them out a little bit sooner, and you can pat them dry. And then another thing that can help with that is not salting your steaks until you're ready to cook them. Now, there's another school of thought that says you salt them earlier, and it penetrates the meat a little bit. And that's the fun thing about cooking. There's usually more than one way to do things, and they're both right. And so, yeah, this is just the way that I kind of learned how to do it. And,
Okay.
yeah, so my oil is starting to smoke a little bit right here, so I know it's hot enough to start. You want to hear that good sizzle.
You use grapeseed oil for this, but canola would probably work.
Canola would be just fine. Yeah.
And that's a neutral oil to cook in.
Yeah, because with the oil has a much higher like temperature than water, and so having it touch that will help with it like browning it and frying it, and
Okay.
it's really not about the flavor as much as it's about what the chemistry is doing. And you want a high temperature smoke before it like gets to a smoke point.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna let those hang out for a second, do their thing. And
Cool.
another thing with steak is there's a bunch of different theories. Do you flip it all the time? Do you?
Yeah, you do.
Flip it once.
I like the
and-
note about like depending on how much ADHD you have in the recipe.
Yeah.
It's like you just flip it however much. I feel like I've read a lot of J. Kenji Lopez Alt about this, about like how to cook steaks, and he's of the mind that you can flip as much as you want.
I get you a little bit.
It's okay.
We have another
Standing them up a
question
little bit.
quick from Carol. She said she didn't see the meatball dish on the 7-acre menu. Are you planning on adding it at any
Yeah.
time?
Yep.
Yeah, so like I was saying earlier, it's coming back on the menu this next week. We've been doing a lot of different things with meatballs, sort of like, I love a good meatball and broth, and we've been doing that for a little bit, and that's been fun. But yeah, we wanted to put that back on the menu for this fall, so
Yeah.
it fits some of our
I was
farm.
gonna say we have a meatball on the menu in some way, shape, or form, pretty much all the time, or at least we have. And
We're
so
just set up all the
that's
smoke alarms. I love it.
so you'll see, there's not a lot of color there, and that's why you would flip it again.
Ah.
And so, if I were to only flip it once, I would let it sit like that for a while and really develop that sear. But because I'm gonna be flipping this a few times, yeah, it smells pretty good. It's funny that Ben got here and he saw the induction burner sitting here, and he said he didn't want to do it under the hood, and I said that my hand was forced, and so here we are. But it really does smell great. And
Yeah,
this is one of the things, if you want to cook steak at home and do it really, really well, you got to just kind of be okay with getting a little bit of smoke up.
yeah. Kyle and I are talking about how when we cook steak at home, there's this like micromanagement that's done of us by our partners concerning the exhaust and opening windows.
Oh,
and doors.
100%. I have to open all of the
Like,
windows. I have to turn on
around
every
everywhere.
fan. My husband, like, the minute he gets home, he's like bringing in the fan and he's setting it up and he's just like aiming. And I was like, it's not that bad.
I know, it's fine. But apparently it's
very
like a big
sensitive
deal.
about
And
it.
I think it's true. If 2 alarms go off in the house, that may be way too much.
Yeah, maybe.
I remove them
set one
before I
up here.
start doing
Yeah, what
it.
about
You
that?
just
Is
pull
this a
them off.
sprinkler system thing?
Yes.
No, that's
my
a but that's not smoke, that's temperature, I think.
See, but also, we would have a good story.
This would be great.
Yeah. Yeah. So you use a lot of sunflower oil
Yeah, so
at the restaurant as well, but not in this case.
yeah, the temperature's not quite there. It like starts to smoke, especially because we're using unfiltered organic sunflower oil from Dripless Organics over in Star Valley, Viroqua area. Josh and his brother Noah have been growing it for years. I really hope they continue to do it. I know it's a hard product to grow. The birds are really aggressive on fields that are less than like 10 acres, and it's hard to get the combines in and stuff like that. But it's so cool that we have a high quality salad oil that competes with some of the best olive oils in the world, to the point that we've chosen to use it exclusively as our salad oil and finishing oil at 7 acres, just because it's an easy choice we can do. We don't bring in olive oil and use it, although I love olive oil. I mean, we don't need to do it, and it's kind of a fun, and that's what a lot of working at 7 acres has been for Kyle and I, is setting up boundaries and parameters and like limitations that force us to work within a certain way, but also lets you really hone in and create something kind of like good from those constraints, you know? I don't think I want to just go on a walk in the woods forever. I want to go somewhere and come back, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes things fun and it forces us to be creative with things. So.
Nice.
So Kyle, I don't know if this worked. I think the oil temperature went
we'll
down.
give it a shot. That's I'm sure it's gonna taste good.
Yeah.
Salt them up.
Yep. They're not crispy yet, so I'm just still waiting.
All right.
The oil temperature went quite down.
These are hugely thick.
Yeah, these are big steaks, so this is.
So the recipe that y'all gave us, it did have you sort of starting the steaks here, but then you can finish them in the oven, right? That's
Yep.
like one thing you can do. And also it had an allium in there.
Yeah.
It does.
How do
we
you-
brought some out.
How do you prefer
Okay.
the
We'll
steak?
be doing that.
So that was one thing that I needed to like, talk about in the recipe of like, you could have an allium of your choice. It could be shallot,
Shallot,
How do you prefer
Green
steak?
onion.
regular onion.
anything you want.
We
Medium rare,
because
medium
it's
rare.
spring, we brought a few ramps.
Ooh, ramps.
We have
Controversial.
Two mediums, one medium rare, one rare, and the rest are however we want.
2 mediums,
One medium rare, and then the rest are rare or however we want to do
Great,
it.
sounds good.
Huh? Rams are controversial because of how they are harvested and because once certain people, chefs sometimes, figure out where they are, they will harvest them in a way that's not sustainable. So they'll just clear out patches, and you have to, when you're foraging, I think most people will tell you, right? You want to only forage, you forage in a way that makes the patch sustainable so that it will be there the next time you go to get it, right?
And like not just for your harvest, but for other people's
For other people's harvest too.
as well. Like
Exactly.
we definitely are allowed to survive on this planet, but I don't think we can just take it all.
Yes, you can't take it all. My sister-in-law is a wonderful forager, and she forages mushrooms, and she forages ramps, and she forages herbs, and all kinds of things. She can see into the wall of green and see what the things are, which is an amazing superpower. But there are these sort of codes of ethics when you go foraging, and I think ramps are like a sort of like foie gras was, like a high-profile way to talk about something that's a little bit more broad and spread out than that, but ramps are kind of a touch point this time of year for people taking too much or in a way that doesn't help them come back.
Yeah, and there's definitely like some areas where like there are a lot of ramps, and you can take some without really affecting that. But there are places where in the country where they are very endangered and they are not like enough.
Yeah. One of my favorite ramp related products is the goat cheese from Door County Creamery.
Yeah.
Door County Creamery has a goat cheese with ramps in it, and it's insane. It's so good. I think Fromage Nation has Door County Creamery, but I'm not 100% sure.
I'm gonna swim behind you with this hot
Yep.
oil.
Do it.
Don't need this out here anymore. We'll let the hood suck it up now.
Go Hood, go!
There it is. Now you saw the exciting part.
See, there you go.
Yeah, maybe I can just move this over here. I think this is a,
So
this is a steal.
you do baste it with butter. Like there's butter that's involved in the steak, yes?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and that'll be something that we can do, either before you put it in the oven or after you take it out. I think what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to let those hang out in there for a little bit and then turn them on their side.
Got it.
Toss a
So-
little bit of butter on it and just kind of let it melt over the top and do its thing that way.
So what you've done is you started them, you seared them off. At what point did you pull them from your pan and put them into the oven? Like what temperature?
Just once they have like a nice color on them. I didn't
Okay.
even temp them. I
Okay.
know for sure that they're still relatively cold in the middle. And you just kind of learn that as you cook a bunch of steak. There's no way that big thick piece of meat is done And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let them hang out in there for a little bit.
350, 375, 400.
It's at
It's
400.
at 400 right now.
Okay.
That's a convection oven, which really means it's kind of closer to like 450. Really, if you have a lot of time, a nice and low oven is like a really good way to go. And then it really cooks it nice and evenly and slow and gives you. But I mean, at 450, it does the same thing.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, and steak is one of those things where I know I for sure just made half the people super mad. Everybody has their opinions on it, and we just kind of do what works for us. So.
They don't have to eat your steak.
All right. So this is the beef stock.
Yep, and so I don't know if that picked up on the camera, but it's nice and sticky and gelatinous already, and I'm just going to bring this down a little bit just because I know for sure it needs a little bit more time. I have this kind of cranking, and it's going to come up and start bubbling. And,
Okay.
and then I can take a spoon and kind of start showing what you're looking for when you're doing this.
Sounds good.
It sure does go faster in a big old fryer on the line.
Yeah.
Speaking of time, how are we doing on time?
It
10
is
minutes.
6:51.
Okay, so we've got
Oh
about
my
10
word.
minutes.
Yeah, I was looking at that. I think we're really close. This steak is in there, rested in the oven. I don't think we'll probably get the full rest, but we can start to slice it and show that.
Okay.
If I can just get this oil temperature to come up, we'll be there. But I got,
So this is for frying the spinach, the tops of it?
yes.
And you wanted the oil to be hotter than it was when it first went in?
Yeah, I think with all that water, and I didn't check the temp on the oil after I pulled the roots.
Okay.
I should have let it at least get back up to temp. But even then, I probably overcrowded it with that second run into there. But yeah, it just takes a little more time, and these stems have a lot of water in them, so they're kind
Got
of fun to figure out. I threw the roots back in the oven into the oven just to sort of let them get a little bit hot again, so they'll come up together with this.
Nice.
Yeah.
These are really beautiful. These ramps are.
Yeah, this spot was pretty gorgeous. There's so many ramps, it was crazy, and we took like just that many, but it was kind of nice to like walk in the woods.
Yeah, I mean, and a big thing you were asking about the kind of the sustainability of foraging something like a ramp, and if you look for the sustainable ways to do it, it's really easy to find. But kind of a rule of thumb that I use is because the bulbs are very, very good pickled.
Yes.
But of course, that's the part that if you take too many, you're pulling the roots out of the ground, and
Yes.
they can't come back. And so, I'll take one bulb, one root for every handful of leaves that I get, and I try and only cut one of the leaves off of each plant. And by doing that, I mean I've been going to this spot that I go to for a while, and every year it's super plentiful. And,
Nice.
they seem healthy and happy, and as long as you're only taking what you're going to use and what you need, and being conscious about it, it's that's a good way to go.
Nice.
So this is a little bit of honey. I'm gonna get this going for these roots. They're gonna be done soon. And I'm just putting it in a little saucepan right here. And what I want for it to do is start to smoke a little bit. We're gonna burn this honey a little bit just to give it a little bit of richness.
Okay.
And then we're gonna add some apple cider and some salt. I'm gonna just start with salt right now. Right now it's gonna use at least that much. Probably a little bit of pepper, and let that kind of soak into there a little bit.
There are 3 salts. Is this kosher or is this just a fine
Yeah,
sea salt?
Yep, that's
Diamond.
a diamond crystal, the red box. Kind of hard to find, which is weird, but
We talk
It
about this a
is.
lot on this show about how hard it is to find diamond crystal. And a lot of times people will jump in the zoo and be like, you can find it at Penzies or...
yep, Penzies is where I get it from.
Yeah, I've gotten it from the old Amazon Shopee.
I really only ever use it to clean up spilled oil on my floor, so I don't have a lot of use for it. I mean, I don't know why when you have other salts that taste good.
They do. The gray salt does taste,
Better,
Yeah.
definitively, and better. Yeah, I know, I agree.
But I also like
Yeah.
all of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Pass it around.
I think I might have
The
killed
folks here are
this
getting to
strip.
try the gray salt. This is what you're
There we go.
seeing happen.
Oh, is that me or you?
I don't know.
Use your fingers, maybe.
It just turned all the way off. Don't know if you wanted to.
Well, I think
You
I'm
guys feel
blowing
like
up,
trying it.
so we'll just go over here.
I mean, the thing is, the spinach is working. I always get self-conscious about it, and maybe as it's you're frying a green, and you're like, oh wow, that looks like wilted. But the moisture's leaving now. It's all coming out. We're getting that crispiness to it. These other roots are coming together in the oven. I'm gonna give them a toss. Can I borrow your towel?
We have a question back to the meatballs. That
Yeah,
wants
the
to
salt.
know-
Hi, honey.
A question about the meatballs.
Oh,
Beth
that's
wanted
fun.
to know what the advantage is of using white pepper in the meatballs.
White pepper is such a fun like flavor. There's a lot of different types of pepper out there. We've been using a lot of green pepper at the restaurant. White pepper has like a soft and muted flavor. Not everybody loves it. It has a lot of like similar flavor as some Italian cheeses and like sort of it's like back of the mouth sort of like notes. I love it. When I was working at Hutong, Zuin uses it like all the time, and like it was fun. And, like I just reminded me, there's so many more peppers out there than just one, and like just easy to like, you know, just use one little simple thing all the time. But you don't have to. I mean,
We use a lot
Confused
of
with
green pepper at the
yeah.
restaurant.
Yes,
As
green
a
pepper
plate.
is in the steak recipe, I believe.
yeah, but I couldn't find it at the restaurant. We just use dry green pepper. It's a little bit slightly different flavor, a little bit more. You know, less like punchy and spicy and like some of that black pepper oily like heaviness, and more like yeah. All right, I'm gonna put these in there. Get some paper towels in there. There you go. Do you have paper
We
towels?
are almost there on the honey. I'm gonna just go ahead and throw some of this. So the honey kind of starts to go like this. It could go a little bit longer, but I'm gonna just stop it now in the interest of time. But
Ooh,
you
it
can see
smells
it
really good.
smells really rich, and you could just use regular honey and skip this whole step, and it'd still be delicious. But we're always looking for ways to just add a little bit of depth,
Okay,
and it'll spit a little bit when you first add this.
that's the apple cider or apple cider
Yep,
vinegar?
This
Okay,
is just apple cider.
just regular apple cider.
Yep, you could use vinegar. We had a really good bottle of apple cider vinegar in the freezer at the restaurant, and I wanted to use that instead of just normal apple cider vinegar. So
Yeah.
So these greens turned out really nice and crispy. I have a hand towel down there because I couldn't find paper towels. It really cleaned up it really seasoned the oil really well. The oil turned really green, which is kind of cool to see. But yeah, let me see. We use a little bit of a mix of salt and MSG in equal parts.
That's just a little bit of MSG. I have so much MSG in my house because you can't buy a small amount. You just buy a big old box.
well, why would he want to?
I mean,
Yeah,
I should use it more, is what you're saying. Yeah.
Well, we mix like 50-50 salt to MSG. It allows us to lower the overall sodium and, you know, add more flavor.
Good.
And then we're cool because we're trending too, right?
Oh, yeah. MSG has been rehabilitated from its
Yeah, well,
complicated history.
it's not very complicated when,
No, I
when
know.
you're carrying it.
I mean, we could also say racist history, but
Drizzle sauce
Yeah.
ready over here. I'll toss
Yeah,
this
that's-
spoon in it.
Excellent. So I have to drizzle it
oh, they're
myself.
beautiful.
Yeah,
I have to drizzle it?
I think
You
you
have
got
to drizzle it.
Okay.
it.
Drizzle,
I
drizzle.
think you got it.
I think I got it too. Not maybe. Well, those steaks are coming together, huh?
All right.
I'm gonna drizzle these in the pan.
Yep. And that handle shouldn't be very hot.
Yeah, it does, right? Look like crawfish heads. So the thing is, spinach is always good for you, no matter how it's prepared.
100%. I really like it with like a lot of cream and cheese.
Hot. Should I use my fingers? This is hot. These are right in the oven.
It's a thing
I,
to think about it now, right?
well, behind you kind of with something that was a little warm.
You got it?
Yeah. Okay. And the drizzle. That's a sauce in it.
Mahoney, don't drizzle.
It falls. Yeah, I don't know. We love this dish. It's super simple and straightforward. It's like almost like a one ingredient dish.
Yeah, just show it to the camera here real
Yeah.
quick.
And again, you know, thanks to Mad Glass Finds for these awesome plates.
Mad Glass Finds.
She's on
Pro tip.
Instagram.
Yeah.
But like, she has really cool stuff. She's
That's so
posted-
cool.
Yeah, I bought a bunch of stuff from her. All right, so again, this is sort of to be shared, if that's okay. I'll take that. Yeah, absolutely. I do. Ooh, hey, my trash can.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. So it's kind of fun. It's like almost this like artichoke heart meets spinach dip. Like almost like you could make artichoke heart spinach. Like I don't know. It's kind of cool. I'm gonna make one of these for the staff.
All right, sounds good.
Oh, do you want green still?
And we're just about ready to plate this beautiful steak, yeah?
Yep, it's resting right now. I'm just gonna get these ramps going a little bit. This is just a little bit of normal butter right
Normal
here.
butter going into our plate.
I
ready
shouldn't
for
say it's normal butter. It's really good butter that we get to use at the restaurant made by Landmark Creamery. So
Nice,
Yeah.
okay.
it's extraordinary butter, but we have a compound butter here, and that's not what I mean
right,
by
yes.
what this is going to be for this.
How do you guys like them?
Eat it with every dish.
Good. Yeah, we feel really fortunate that we fell onto this ingredient and on this recipe and this preparation. Like, I don't know, not everybody loves it, but like we do, and we like to cook food we like.
This is the thing that when Katie and some friends went to 7 Acre, my editor Katie, they came back and this is what they were raving about, like the spinach.
Yeah.
Spinach roots.
Yep.
'Cause it's different.
Yep.
And it's
If you
really
want to try
fun.
them,
Had it the other way.
yeah.
Had it for
Here's that one as well.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Does everybody need any napkins or anything like that? Where would I keep the napkins around here? You got them? Great. Excellent.
All right.
Yep. Yep.
All right, we're gonna plate this up here in a minute and then
So we're cutting
you
to
can
the
see our
time.
beautiful, no, it's okay. It's all right. I like this
here
stabbing.
are our steaks.
Ideally, you're going to want to give your steak at least a 10 to 15 minute rest, especially on something like this. It allows for a lot of that like extracellular fluid that's been like forced to the center to like go back into the outside of the meat. You see a much better mark, and the way that the coloration is distributed is just a little bit simpler.
This
I think
cutting
your
process is
medium steaks
interesting,
will
I
probably
think.
take a few more minutes.
And I don't think
So
that I would know how to do this, so.
what I'm doing is I'm just taking this right off the bone, and these strips are interesting because on this side there's sometimes a little. Ben would be able to tell you what that bone that catches you is.
So
But
hinge.
what did you say?
It's a little hinge.
Yeah, and then so I actually usually like to stand this up when I'm working on the line. And
Okay.
you're just kind of carving around that, carving around this, and then
where
this
the-
is going to be.
It's where the inside of the
There
spine
it
is, right there. There's this little looks
This
like
is a
crown
really
molding or something
stubborn
like that.
one.
Sometimes you can
We'll
just
just-
use the tip and yeah.
Go around the top, but
You got it, Kyle?
I don't know if I do.
I can take over.
Yeah, take over because I gotta work this.
All right,
Demi.
work that demi. All right,
See, it's
so
funny,
that was
I
done. That was
used
he
to
had already
line cook
finished.
a lot, and I got really, really good at that. But with cooking, like if you're not doing something frequently, it's
You
you
are
can-
still
you
very,
can do a
very good
little
at
bit.
that. I don't know what you're talking about. He's so modest.
yeah. Well,
So one of the things that helps,
these steaks right here.
the thing that helps when you're doing this is to approach it from both sides until you reach that little thing, and then to use the tip of your knife just to release some of the meat, or some like from each side, and
Oh. I'm having memories of the duck class.
oh, that was so fun.
That was really
I
fun.
could cut
I took a
myself
duck class at Madison
Madison
Sourdough.
Yeah,
It was like a 4-hour class. But I learned a lot about how to work with poultry and
we did a whole duck, and we sent people home with the whole
So
duck.
much food.
Like a breast that was in like salt to cure.
I had pate.
We made pate.
Yeah.
We made confit.
Uh-huh.
We processed. It was a class, and we processed whole ducks.
It was amazing.
Yeah. So
I learned a lot, actually.
that was like in 2007, 8.
God, it was a long time ago. It was really fun. Look at that beautiful color.
Yeah.
Oh, it's perfect. I love it. I like a medium rare. Yeah. Right?
And so what I'm doing over here is I'm just skimming the top of this demi one last time to get any remaining
Oh,
fat
yeah.
or floaty bits off. And that gives you just like a nice clean flavor and look.
So the demi stock that we had up here, he's warmed it up and he's skimming the top off there. just like any scummy bits. My grandma would call it like scata.
Yeah.
Another
And,
question
a lot
from
of times it tastes fine. It
Yeah.
tastes great, but
Yeah.
a question from Colette. She says, Ben and Kyle seem to work together so well. How long have you been working together?
Ooh,
Um,
great question. I like it.
we started working together, I guess, in December at 7 Acre.
It's not very long.
No, this is the first time we've had jobs together, but Kyle and I have been like cooking together for like 3.5, 4 years now. Just like as friends, we'll do dinners where you know we go to some place where it's really hard for the health department to find it, and then we'll invite people out there to come eat, and we'll make a bunch of food, and then we'll leave after one day, and nothing ever happened there.
yes.
Or
This
we'll
is
just
why I can't
you know,
write about it. I've asked for a long time.
Yeah, they wrote about it once
I think
in
we
the
have,
state, in
right?
the state Sentinel Journal. But yeah, I don't know. It's really fun to like bring food home to cook into other formats, and I don't know, like I think we're friends first, and then like we work really well together. I just like working with someone who's also looking out for me and taking care of me and has my best interest at heart, and like I really feel like that's the case with Kyle, and it's pretty special.
Yeah, it's so
I
nice.
feel the same way. I mean, the thing about cooking, especially on a professional level, is it's really hard. The hours are really long. You know, it's during the time of day when, you know, most people are
With their families.
and so it should be fun. And that's something that one of my first mentors, Aaron Millen, always said, is cooking should be fun. If it's not, there's no reason to do it. And
No. Yeah.
we have fun cooking together.
Yeah.
So.
And
Nice.
yeah, it's I mean, I love food. I love hospitality. I love creating an opportunity for people to come together and do that. And you know, I think I've never, you know, at this point in the present, like doing it with Kyle is like super perfect. I've been loving it. So, yeah.
Well, cool.
So, there's our steaks. When you rest them, and so the point of resting them is, if you'll see, it kind of looks like a piece of tuna in some ways. And the reason you rest a steak is because you want to allow the heat that's kind of throughout that steak to distribute throughout the meat, and it gives you a much more even cook. And so, you know, not that we intended to do it this way, but now you get to see the wrong way to do it. But it's still super delicious, and it's going to be great. I'm just kind of tossing a few of these ramps that we gathered earlier on here. And these I just sauteed. I like to do them really hot, and just a little bit of butter. Beth's going to hit them with a little bit of Malden.
Are these Madison ramps? Are these Pale High ramps?
Oh, I can't tell you
You
that.
want to go take our ramps?
Wouldn't you like to?
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I
I thought that would
Do
totally
you know
fly.
where the governor's mansion is?
I do.
It's right behind there. Just like go behind there, and where the big bushes are, with the tall trees. You gotta
Oh,
be sneaky.
yeah, I will not get arrested at all.
You'll be fine. It's fine. He's super sweet.
Just gotta do
Not
it
like
fast.
You gotta do it fast.
All right. So I think just probably start one of these
Yeah.
on each side. And
Yeah, let's see. I think the medium, the
This is
closest
the
to
medium
medium.
right here.
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna take a picture with this,
okay,
so
yeah.
hold off for just 1 second.
Okay, that
And
sounds
we'll say goodbye to all of our friends at home.
Actually, you know
I
what?
will pass it back over to Beck.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for being here.
For the butter, do you want to put butter on it?
Yes,
Yeah, we
thank
should
you
toss some
again
butter on
to
it.
Ben
I'll
and
do-
Kyle from 7 Acre Dairy Co. for coming and making all these lovely dishes and giving us such a good time. I think all of our guests here in person are enjoying themselves as we speak. Again, if you would like to be in person for a future Cooking with the Cap Times, you can do so by becoming a Cap Times member at membership.captimes.com. I'd also like to thank our sponsors one more time, Kesnick's Innovation Center and then Leopold's Books Bar Cafe. I think for our bottle of wine winner, we're going to pick Colette. She asked about
love the
Ben's
question.
T-shirt, and I really like that one. So.
I like it.
And I think that's it. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yes, thank you. Yay!